to our Summer Pet-iquette video series, where we bring you practical advice to help you make the most of the warmer months with your canine family members. I am Nicola MacDonald, Animal Welfare Operations Officer at Companion Animals New Zealand, and today I'll be asking an accredited professional under our accreditation scheme to explain more about the world of beach days with our dogs. This video is called Beach Behaviour Basics, Pet-iquette at the Shore. So whether you're a seasoned beach goer or new to taking your dog to the shore, we've got some tips for you on how to ensure a safe and fun day at the beach for everyone involved. So we're joined today by Shivaun Statham. And Shivaun, thanks so much for being here. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself.
Certainly. I've been in the dog training industry for over 25 years. I have a degree in a Bachelor of Applied Animal Technology from Unitech. I am currently accredited as a trainer with the IAABC, APDTNZ, and of course Companion Animals New Zealand. I have worked in various different roles within the animal industry, and I currently now work at Kiwi Vet Behaviour alongside 2 veterinary behaviourists and other trainers. And I currently specialise in aggression, both dog-to-dog aggression and dog-to-human aggression.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Shivaun. So we'll dive straight in. And so first off, when choosing a dog-friendly beach, what should pet owners look for?
Well, the first thing that you're going to need to check is whether dogs are even allowed on the beach at all. And if they are allowed, when and where, and whether they can be on leash or off leash. So the easiest way to check that is to check with your council website and to look up the specific place that you want to go, and it will tell you those individual rules for that place. So I can do a little screen share now, and I will just pull up one that I am looking for. There we go. So this is for Auckland Council. And if we click on Auckland Council, it's going to take you through to their site. If you scroll down, you're going to see a little section that says dogs and other animals. And we're going to click on that. And then we're going to come down and it's going to say find where and when you can walk your dog. And council websites will be similar. They might not look exactly like this, but they'll all be similar. Then you're going to need to look up exactly where you want to go. For the purposes of this, we're going to look up Piha. So Piha Beach, huge beach in West Auckland, very popular with people and also for exercising dogs. So if we run a search on that, it's going to pull you up all the kinds of beaches and reserves that you can see in Piha. We're going to find the one that we want, which is Piha Waitakere Ranges. So if we click on that, it's automatically opened into the dog walking rules, and Piha's is a little bit complicated. So it's going to give you all the different rules that are available for Piha Beach. Piha is a big beach. So there's different rules depending on where you are on that beach. So you can see in the surrounding areas and the park areas and the walking tracks. So park areas, they have to be on leash. Walking tracks, they can't be on walking tracks at all. That's usually down to native birds. And then you've got 2 places which are Monkey Rock and Lion Rock, which are on Piha Beach. You can see they're prohibited there. You can't take your dogs there. However, between those 2 rocks, you can take them off leash, sunrise to sunset, which you can see there. And at other times, they have to be on leash. So if you're walking in the dark, they have to be on leash. And then it's going to tell you that there are prohibited beach areas, and it's going to give you a description of where that is. And at all, in all other places, they have to be on leash at all times. And usually in car parks, they're going to say that they can't be there. They can pass through a car park, but they can't sit in the car or hang about in a car park. If you need more, as in the description isn't telling you enough, then it will have a map that you can click on, which should take you through. Let's see what it does, and gives you a map of the area, and it's going to give you little icons for where the dogs are not allowed. So that's going to be the easiest way for you to figure out exactly where and when you can take your dogs in relation to any particular beach.
Great, thank you for that. And would it be better to go to a beach area where there's fenced off areas when you walk down to the beach, or is it?
Well, I think if you're looking for specific things for beaches, obviously you need to make sure the dogs are allowed there. Once you've established that, then if you're looking for specific things that might make it easier for you, most beaches, particularly around the Auckland area, in my experience, aren't fenced at all. So if you're looking for fenced areas, you're probably not going to find one, not at a beach, which means that you've got to keep your dogs on leash until you get to the areas where you're allowed to take them off. But things that I'm looking for if I want to take a dog to the beach are actually lighter colored sand, funnily enough, because the black sands that we get, particularly on the west coast, up past and around Auckland, get super, super, super hot. So I kind of like the ones that have a lighter colored sand. They don't get quite so hot. And I also like places that have freshwater drinking taps around about the place so that you can refill water, things like that. And I personally am looking for larger beaches that are going to be less busy. It's just a little bit easier to manage dogs when the beach isn't completely packed with people.
What are some basic beach etiquette tips for dog owners to follow when at the beach with the dogs?
Okay, so most beaches will have specific areas where the dogs are allowed and not allowed, and they will have time restrictions. So you do need to be aware of that. In many cases, they're only allowed before 10 in the morning and after 7 at night. So you got to be careful of those restrictions. And again, just showed you the easiest way for you to find where those are. And you do need to follow those. During the summer, council will have their council officers out in force. They are everywhere. So if you're not going to follow leash laws, they will find you and they will fine you.
Yes, nobody really wants that.
No.
Okay, and how can owners ensure they're being considerate to other beachgoers while still letting their dogs enjoy themselves?
Yeah, sure. So if you're going to have your dog off leash, they should have a really reliable recall. If they don't, they shouldn't be off leash. You can utilize a long line, which can give them some freedom and still allow you to maintain control over the dog. And you should be keeping your dog within a distance that you can see the dog, you're aware of what they're doing, and you can easily recall them. It's no good if your dog is 3 football fields away down the beach, you can't see them and you've got no clue what they're doing. So that's one of the biggest ones. The other one that's really common is the beach is a super exciting place for dogs. Most dogs really love it. They love to run, they're in and out of the water, they're all over the show. So just keeping an eye on what's around you. Are there toddlers around? Are there babies on the sand? Are there little people? Are there little wee dogs around? Because sometimes big dogs can just run riot, and they don't mean to cause trouble, but they'll just bowl over a toddler in 2 seconds flat. They're not meaning to. They don't even see them. They're just running along the beach because it's fun. So that's one of the biggest things, is just being aware of what's around you and being like, oh, okay, there's a little wee person on the sand over there making a sandcastle. I'm going to make sure my dog doesn't run straight through that. And that's particularly for big dogs too. Big dogs are scary for some people. So just being aware of people on the beach and recognizing that not everyone's a dog person. So just be mindful of that and always supervise your dog all the time when you're on the beach. You should know where they are. You should be able to see them.
Are there any other tips for helping or strategies around management of dogs when there's lots of other dogs around on the beach?
Yeah. So what I like to do if I'm going to go into an area that's really what we call high distraction, high arousal. So it's super exciting. There's loads of people there. There's loads of dogs there. They just want to get out and run. Usually I'll do like a little 2 to 3 minute training session at the car first. So inside the car, getting your dog to do whatever cues they know, sit down, touch, pop them out of the car, do the same thing, just so that they're focused on you, giving them food rewards for that, so that they're cued into you, focused on you. They're not all just about, let me out of the car, I want to go and run. No, you do actually have to listen to me. You do have to pay attention. And then once they're a little bit more cute and focused and a little bit calmer, then take them down onto the beach. During the walk, if they are off leash, call them back regularly. Don't just let them go and do whatever they want for any period or length of time. Let them go and run. Let them have fun. Let them have a swim. If they're dog social and they like other dogs, let them go and play with other dogs, but call them back frequently. Remind them that, yep, sure, it's great and it's fun, but you still have to listen to me. You still have to come back when I call you. And giving them really good high value food rewards for that so that they do want to come, and then releasing them straight away again to go and play. So the fun doesn't stop when you come. You get rewarded for it and then you get to go back and do it again. But doing that really frequently is a good idea to make sure that you still have control of your dog, that they can still listen to you, so that when you need to interrupt them, should you, if a play session is getting out of hand or there's a small child wandering into the fray and you don't want them to knock them over, that they will actually come back when they're asked for. If you aren't used to having a long line and you need to have a long line on the beach, practice it first. There is a skill to it. There is a skill to handling long lines. And if the first time you're ever going to use one is on a busy beach, it's going to be a challenge. So get used to it, how to handle a long line first before you go to the beach, and then you're handling it around people and dogs and water and everything else. Let me just check if that was all I had. Oh, there is one thing that I will mention. Please don't leave your dog unsupervised on the beach. I see it all the time. They will leave the dog on the beach, either tethered or not tethered, and go for a swim. Most of those dogs get highly distressed when that happens. They've been separated from their owner, who is going into water, which distresses some dogs. They get worried about their person being in that water and they get really upset. They try to join them. If they're tethered, they can't. They whine, they cry. Their guardians aren't aware of that because they're halfway down the beach in the water. So I never recommend that. Always stay with your dog. Don't leave them tethered and go for a walk or go into the water. It's usually quite distressing for the dog, and also you have no control over what anyone else is going to do to your dog when you're not there. So I don't recommend doing that.
What about wildlife? How do we protect wildlife such as nesting birds?
Yep. So there are, if they do have ground dwelling native birds at the particular beach you're at, it will be signposted and your dog will be prohibited in those areas. So it's just important to keep them out of there. Often in sand dunes too. So dogs do love to go into sand dunes, but often those are the areas in which they're not allowed because there are nesting birds, because they will damage the habitat just by running through it. They don't necessarily have to, you know, kill a bird or damage a bird to cause problems. Just running through those areas will cause huge problems. So it's being aware of where they are. They usually say on the council website as well, but they will be signposted at the beach, and just obeying that and keeping your dog away and out of those areas.
Right. Yep, thank you. So when we're packing for a beach day, what are some must-have items to bring for our dogs?
Okay, so you definitely want a leash, because almost always there's going to be parts and places, car parks or areas that they have to be on leash to move through. A long line, if you don't have reliable recall for your dog, the really good long lines to use are biothane long lines, which are a type of sort of flexible plastic. They hose off so easy, rather than the fabric ones which get weighed down with the water and the sand. You do need to take your dog poo bags because you must clean up after them. You need to take water and a container to put that water in so that the dog it can stay hydrated, and you can do that. A towel for the dog, particularly if you're staying for a long time, to dry them off, and also so that they don't end up having to lie on hot sand. If you're going to be on the beach for an extended period of time, then you might want to take a portable tethering device just to keep your dog secure. Not because you're going to be leaving it, but because if you're lying down on the beach reading a book or something and you don't see what's happening, and the next minute your dog's up and off down the beach, that's not so great. So sometimes that can be good. And probably an umbrella of some sort if there's not going to be natural shade at the beach. If you have a dog with thinner fur, lighter colored skin, then you need to consider pet sunscreen. just for the areas, often bellies, noses, areas where they don't have a lot of fur, they can get sunburnt. So it's important to consider that as well. And if you're going to be there for a long time, then think about some snacks for the dog as well. And let me check, I think, yeah. Oh, the other thing is a harness. Particularly if you're going to use a long line, we always recommend using a harness with the long line, never on a collar. It's much safer and more secure. So a good, well-fitted harness that's going to take some sand and water.
Right. And pet sunscreen is available from
vet clinics, pet stores, both of those will have it. Yep.
Right. Okay. The hazards that we see at the beach with dogs, like the hot sand you already described, and then potentially the water, is there a way to keep dogs safe from those hazards?
Yeah, so for the hot sand is a big one. If you can't stand on it and it's uncomfortable, then your dog can't stand on it either, and they don't get to wear jandals. So being really careful about that. And the generally recognized test for that is to put the back of your hand on the sand or the ground for 10 seconds. If you can't do it and you have to move your hand away because it hurts, then it's too hot. It's way too hot for your dog to walk on. So you may even have to pick them up and carry them over the hottest parts. Good luck if you have a big dog. But just being aware of that, particularly on those black sand beaches, boy, do they heat up. So yeah, definitely that one. The water, it's pretty much the same as for humans. You should know water safety. So you don't want to pick that calm spot on a surf beach. That is the spot where there will be a big rip that could potentially take your dog out. You should also know how strong of a swimmer your dog is. So a lot of dogs love the water, but some of them just aren't that good at swimming. And they will get themselves into trouble if they go out too far. So if you think your dog's not that great, put a long line on it, and then it can't chase that seagull out beyond the breakers and then find itself in trouble, and know how strong they are and just keep them to the shallows. Beware of those currents that are there. And there are some other hazards that you probably want to be aware of at the beach that you might not have thought about. The biggest one is marine animals. So there's a couple that can cause problems for dogs, and one of them is sea slugs. So sea slugs we get very often on different beaches around New Zealand, and they're fairly innocuous looking little things. But if your dog licks them or tries to eat them, then they can get poisoned from that. So that's one to watch out for, and they'll often either wash up on beaches or be around rock pools. And the other one that can be dangerous is blue bottles, or otherwise known as Portuguese man-of-war jellyfish, and they are often washed up on beaches, often. They can sting. So if your dog tries to play with it like it's a toy or picks it up in its mouth, they can get a sting from that. Most of the time it's fairly minor, but you get the odd dog that comes up with an allergic reaction that could be quite serious, particularly if they eat it or put it in their mouth and then they end up with a sting in their throat. So I'll just show you, if I can, let me share this. Okay, so that's a sea slug. They don't look like much, and they're often not very big. So they're easy to miss on the beach. And then the other one, let me find it for you. Yeah, there you go. That's your blue bottle. So that's what they look like. Sometimes they will look a bit flatter on the beach. So just being aware of those two things and keeping your dogs away from them is always good. And if you, oh yeah, that's fine. If you miss the fact that they've been around, then I can go through the signs that your dogs might have been in contact with sea slugs or blue bottles.
Yeah, sure. What would those signs be?
Okay, so for blue bottles, you're probably looking at a localized swelling if they've had a sting. It will be painful. So if it's on a leg or something, they won't be weight bearing on it. They can drool, they can vomit. And let me just check what my other ones were. Oh yeah, so if it gets really serious, which isn't common, it's usually if they have an allergic reaction to the sting, then they can get breathing difficulties. But the problem will be is if they ingest it and they get a sting in the throat, and then their throat can swell up.
Yeah.
So anything like that is straight off to the vet. In terms of sea slugs, they will similar. They could vomit, drool, but they will often get a really wobbly gait, so they can't walk properly and they'll tend to fall over. And then when it gets bad, they can have tremors or seizures. They can collapse, and they can also overheat. So those are the kind of things that you'd be looking out for. If you're at a beach and your dog is suddenly showing some of these signs, leave, go to a vet clinic. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is one other thing just to be aware of at the beach, and that is salt toxicity. So if you give a dog that swims a lot with their mouth open or likes to make a game out of biting waves, if they ingest too much seawater, that is dangerous. And the signs of that would be, let me just find that. Yep. So they're going to have, they'll be excessively thirsty, which is the salt in their system causing that. And they will urinate a lot, vomiting, diarrhea, and then when it's bad, weakness and collapse. So that's just one to be aware of, just in case your dog is, and if you see your dog ingesting a lot of water, sea water like that, probably time to get out. You don't want that happening. And of course, if they're on ground that is really hot or sand that is hot, they're not going to stay still. So a sure sign that it's too hot for them, they're going to dance on the surface and they'll be constantly picking their feet up because it's uncomfortable and it's burning them.
If a dog overheats, we're looking at similar signs?
Yeah. So overheating, you're going to get excessive panting is usually the first sign, because that's how dogs cool themselves down. So if they're really, really hot, they're going to be panting and panting and panting. They're going to be lethargic, not wanting to move around much. They can drool. Big changes in gum color. So they'll often go like a really dark red, and their tongue as well. Then if it's going to get serious, they're going to breathe very rapidly. They could have quite an irregular heartbeat, vomiting, diarrhea, collapse, and seizures. And that's if they're going to overheat. Yeah.
Is it enough to bring lots of water, bearing in mind that water might heat up a bit over the course of the morning at the beach?
Yeah, so I think it depends. You really need to think about the time of day that you're there. So if you are there over the peak hot time between kind of, I would say 11:30 to 2:30, if that's when you're going to be there, then you're going to have to be really careful. I would be looking for shade. Don't keep them in the hot sun. Definitely have fresh, cool drinking water for them, either at all times or offered very frequently on the walk. And yet preferably cool if you can, and offering them plenty of breaks as well from running. So actually enforcing those breaks, making them stop, come here, have a drink, let's sit in the shade for a bit. And if you're going to be on the beach for an extended length of time where you're just sitting on the beach with the dog, then you need shade. And you also need a towel. They can't be lying on that hot sand any more than you would want to be. So shade. You can soak a towel so that it's cool for them to lie on, that sort of thing. It isn't enough just to offer water. It's really that hot sun that's going to cause you that problem. So you need to get them out of it. Oh, yes. Frequent swimming, of course, is good.
Yes.
To cool them down.
Of course. Yes, which they'll love. Well, some of them do. So are there any tips, like the top 5 tips you would give dog owners?
Yeah, I think probably the other thing that you want to consider if you want to take your dog to the beach is, does your dog really want to be there? Because some dogs don't. It's a super, super busy, really crazy environment. And some dogs just don't want to be there. We might want them to be there, but it stresses them out. They might not be dog social, or they might not cope with large amounts of people. Maybe they don't like the waves. They like water, but the waves are scary. So as much as we want to take our dogs everywhere and do everything with them, consider whether it is the right environment for your dog. Sometimes it's not, and it's more stressful for them than anything else. So that's probably a top one to consider. Does my dog really want to be there? My own personal dog hates beaches with a passion. He does not like water. He does not like the waves. He doesn't even like sand. He's not particularly fond of really busy social things, and he's scared of other dogs. So I'm not taking him to a beach. As much as I'd like it, he would hate it. So just consider that probably before you plan a day out at the beach with your dog. And also consider when you get there, if you think your dog's going to love it and they're really not liking it, then consider taking them home and coming back to the beach to have a fun time. Top 5 tips, obviously know those beach access rules. For the particular beach that you're at, they're all different all around the country. Generally, you want to plan your day to keep your dog out of the hottest part of it, the times when the sun is the hottest and the sand is the hottest. Keep your dog well managed and supervised at all times. Make sure they're well hydrated and be aware, again, of their comfort levels and keep them safe.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Shivaun.